Good morning, crypto Twitter is missing crypto, spreading crypto with doctors showing its benefits to my generation. Shout out to all my people, Gen Z needs to be included. It's really that simple. We are savage, amazed, boss, SD, making money at the same time, spread peace. I feel empty if you don't include Gen Z. About to change the world, so y'all better get ready. Missing crypto, I'm never backing down. I got a wax account, you should say it out. So many NFTs, I think I lost count, and I'm only getting started. Yeah, I'm barely off the ground. Listing crypto, you cannot stop me. My hands are made from diamonds, your hands fall like origami. Never be the boss of me. Bitcoin's all I need. When I say I'm sassy, that's just me talking honestly. Crypto and yum bomb marketplace. I wanna see the more. We gotta go through cyberspace. Leave this world without a trace. They pay for a different day, 'cause we partners in the cryptos didn't stay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Miss Teen Crypto Show. I hope everyone is having a happy Friday today. And I hope everyone stayed safe from that crazy storm. The internet has been really shaky in NYC since that storm, so I'm just letting everybody know I'm going to try my best to keep this live stream going, but the internet has crashed on me a few times. But I still want to be here and vibe with everybody on this happy day. So let's hop in. Thank you, David Schwartz, for being our zesty guest today. Everyone, give him a warm welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I've been looking forward to this one.
I've been looking forward to this as well. I really love what you do, and you're such an important person in this space, and one of the people I really look up to, honestly.
Thank you.
I really want you to dive in and let's chill out. So let's get started.
Let's get zesty.
Let's get zesty. Let's go. I love that. So, Sir David, who were you before crypto? What did you do before crypto?
Yeah. So before crypto, I have a family of 6, right? So I have 4 kids. The oldest is 29, the youngest is 18, soon to be 19 here very soon. And so I did 20 years in the military. I retired in 2013, near the end of 2013, and then I worked for about 7.5 to 8 years with the state of Wisconsin in human resources. And back in mid-2017, August or so, is when I got into, when I bought my first crypto, my first Bitcoin.
Wow.
But yeah, before that, I was always one of those people who would find a lot of beaten up dividend stocks, and I would buy those and then just kind of like accumulate the dividends, reinvest them, and then sell the stocks when they finally went back up probably to a reasonable amount. And I did that fairly well a few times and was able to help our family in that way. But somewhere along the line, around mid-2017, when we were living in between homes, I realized that to me, the stock market was getting a bit too bloated, and I didn't feel like the valuations were appropriate for the companies that were, obviously in the stock exchanges. And so I decided to, once I discovered crypto, to pull it all out of there and start putting it into Bitcoin and Litecoin mostly. So
That's great. So you were in the military?
Yeah, so I started out in the Air Force. I did 3.5 years as a policeman in security, and then I was out for about a little over 2 years in the mid-90s, and then I got back in, but I went into the Army the second time and had to do a second basic training with them. So, and then I spent 16.5 years in the Army.
That's a long time. So you served. Yeah. Thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated, doing great things for our country. So how did you find crypto? Where did you go from stocks transitioning to crypto? Where did you find this all? How did you find the info?
Well, so the first time I read about it, I think was probably around 2011, 2012. But
that's early.
But being that early on, I was still in the military. I had a top secret clearance, and I didn't want to risk anything that seemed questionable for the clearance at the time. So most of what you read was like how it was being used for drugs, and it was just this funny internet money that really didn't mean anything. And so I was like, why would I put real tangible money into something that I could risk my career over? And so I took note of it, but I didn't really do anything about it. And so then it was probably a good 4 to 5 years later, when I was taking a flyer out on a really cheap penny stock, and they had mentioned that John McAfee was going to end up being the CEO of it, and they were going to turn it into a Bitcoin mining company. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll get in at that, like in at like 75 cents to later, but bought in real Bitcoin. So, yeah, but that's it.
Sorry, you broke up for the last minute or so. So you,
Oh.
so when did you first buy Bitcoin?
I first bought it in August of 2017.
Ah, that's very early.
But I had gotten into a stock that John McAfee was becoming the CEO of, and they were going to turn it into a Bitcoin mining company. And so that's the first thing I probably invested in that had Bitcoin tied to it. But yeah.
That's great. And so John McAfee is what brought you in, that enticed you. How did you feel about Bitcoin mining at first? Did you understand Bitcoin mining? Did you know what it was when you invested in that stock, or was it after that you really learned about Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I wouldn't even say it was McAfee just drew me to the company because he had come up with the McAfee antivirus software, and I figured, his name and what he had done was enough for me. The fact that it was becoming a Bitcoin mining company was still sort of irrelevant to me at the time. Otherwise, I think I would have tried to buy some, because I believe it was around 200 or 300 of Bitcoin at the time. 2 or 3, maybe 400. Yeah.
Ooh.
So it's the part of me that wants to kick me now is when it was, during that time. But to me, it was just another stock, right? That's all I dealt with was stocks. So I was really buying more because of his name and his reputation than I was what they were trying to do with it, per se. But then as time went by, I'd say probably early to mid 2017 is when I started actually reading more about Bitcoin itself and what mining was. It was still very confusing to me, but it was interesting, right? So it held my interest for some time. But I wanted to make sure I really understood what it was before I tried buying any. And so it took me a few more months after that to really pull the trigger. And even then, it wasn't like a lot. It was kind of like, I wouldn't say dipping my toe, it was probably dipping a foot, but still it wasn't like I dove in or anything.
Dipping a foot. I kind of like
Yeah.
that. Not all in, but I'm interested. I'm here. I got some bags.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
Was your initial investment Bitcoin, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you find Litecoin?
Litecoin, I found after reading some more at the same time, how it was cheaper, faster in clearing. I started reading about the guy who had created it, Charlie Lee. He seemed like a very interesting, upstanding guy to me. The community was really friendly. And so I decided to buy some. But then I realized, well, I could, like normal people usually do, I realized I could buy more of the Litecoin than I could Bitcoin at the time. And so I started buying more of that. But I saw the two of them as not necessarily equals, kind of like a bigger brother and a little brother.
Yes.
But they had sort of the same goal in mind, but they functioned in different ways to me. I really did sort of subscribe to that whole, Bitcoin is digital gold and Litecoin is digital silver, and that resonated with me. I could relate to it, so that's how I saw them, and I still see them like that. So that's what got me into Litecoin, and I did buy some Ethereum. But not very much. That was harder for me to wrap my head around. And there was a lot of ICO stuff going on that was not of the best flavor at the time. So that kind of curbed my enthusiasm on that one. But yeah.
I got you. So you were well, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum are the most known, I guess, for right now, one of the top three. So you were in there early. That's great. That has to be a good feeling that you were there in 2017. Like, you've been through a few cycles already. The highs, the lows, the, like, rebounds. You've been through it all. How does that feel to still be in the game after this long?
It feels good to still be here after all of that. It was very painful through that bear market. I had never experienced anything like that before. And so I had purchased, like I said, I had started in around August of 2017. So we were holding it during the end of that bull market in 2017. And I remember taking a walk with my wife and showing her the numbers on my phone while we were walking. And she was like, yeah, maybe you should be like trying to sell some of that so we can, you get a little bit of the fruits of your labor for doing that. And I was like, no, we're riding this thing. We're going to take it. It's going to keep going. And to this day, I still think, yeah, it would have been good to maybe shave a little bit of it off at the time because, it went down, 90 something percent for Litecoin and 80 something for Bitcoin. And even if I would have held it and then purchased it back when it was at its lows, but all that's hindsight. You don't really know at the time what's going to happen. And so you had people, I had understood there was going to be a bear market and I had seen the tendencies or the patterns from the last two, but it doesn't register with you if you're brand new into that and all you see is number go up, right? All you know is number goes up and that's it. And so it was after, I think, probably mid 2019 going into the fall winter of 2019 where I realized, okay, this is going to be a little bit, so better batten down the hatches and just be patient and understand that it'll come back, but we don't know when it'll come back. So, yeah.
You're a bull, David. You're a Litecoin and Bitcoin bull, and I'm vibing with that 100%. You knew the potential. Once you were in it, you didn't go back, diamond hands. You were like, I'm not selling.
Couldn't go back. I
think that's amazing. It's something that you hear a lot about in crypto. You just dive in and you see, you experience, and all the technology is so amazing. You don't want to go back to the way you normally transacted with paper green money. It's insane. How did you, I know all through the bear market, you were still bullish and you kept treading on with Litecoin, and you're still part of the Litecoin Foundation, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get started there, and explain the whole story? I would love to hear more about you, the Litecoin Foundation, how this all started.
Yeah, so pushing through the bear market part was a part of joining the foundation as well. I figured even if it was in a bear market, it's much better long term to be a part of that than the broken system that I jumped out of in the first place, right?
Exactly.
So January 18, the price started going down from its highs at the end of December, start of January. So it was around January 26th of 18, we went up north to stay in a cabin for a little time. My wife was already up there and I went to go see her up there, and then we were coming back together because I had too much work to do. I couldn't get off the whole time, and she went up there first, and I joined like a couple of days later. But we were on the way back and the price was going down, and I kept thinking, what are some ways that I could maybe help bring some attention to Litecoin? And so I did a tweet where I said, hey, maybe we could get Spotify to accept Litecoin as a payment.
That would be awesome.
And yeah, and they still haven't, just to put that out there. But anyway, boo. Yeah, so I put that out, and I think I had like 22 followers maybe at the time or whatever. And it was more like my thought, right, than anything else. I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but I put it out there, and a few of the more, prominent people in the Litecoin community liked the idea. They liked it and retweeted it. And I think by the time I got back home with my wife, I think I had like over 2,000 likes and 2,000 retweets on it, and it just kept going. And I was like, wow, that was really interesting.
Your tweet was mooning.
I didn't really understand why. I didn't understand the dynamic behind how crazy crypto Twitter is, right? And but it sort of sparked something in me where it's like, maybe even just a normal Joe like me can still make a difference, right? And so then it was probably a couple weeks after that, and I was just hanging out on Twitter that night, and we were doing like the GIF wars, where we're having fun, right? It was we were talking
Yeah.
junk to each other. It was the Litecoin community, and Charlie was actually, interacting with us, and he was talking about how he was taking like flying lessons and doing some other things. It was really nice, right? And so one guy was like, "Hey, how can I volunteer at the foundation?" And Charlie told him, "Why don't you go ahead and DM me your email address, and he'll get him on the Slack." And so I asked him the same thing, and then he hit me up in the DM and it said, send me your email address. So I showed my wife. I was like, "Hey, this is actually Charlie, the creator." And so then I emailed him, and he got me into the Slack. So it was like 5 or 6 of us went in at the same time, and that started my volunteer time for about 8 months with the foundation. And then after I helped set up the first Litecoin Summit, he asked me to come on as a part-time project director, and that's how I got to where I'm at with that.
Charlie Lee hitting
Yeah.
you up. You're hitting Charlie Lee up. I love that Charlie Lee was so involved and is still so involved with
Mhm.
Litecoin and everything that's going on. That's so amazing. So, what do you do as project director for Litecoin Foundation? How does this all work?
Well, it's funny. The beginning was I was just sort of brought on to maybe help manage the Slack channel a little bit and do this summit thing. And then so we had the first summit in September of 18, and I came on October of 18 as the project director. And then one of the guys, his name is Ilir. At the time, he was helping with communications. So he's like a community manager for Litecoin, and he knew a guy that worked for the parent company that owns the UFC, and they needed a last minute sponsor for the mat for UFC 232. So he told us about it, and I said, "Hey, have him connect with me, and I'll see what I can do to help make this happen." And so uh, within like 2 hours, we'd come to an agreement on the map, right, and what it would cost and what would be on there. So with the blessing of Charlie and everything, but that sort of turned some of my responsibilities from kind of being a busy bee on the Slack channel to actually coordinating some tangible, real project type stuff. And so it sort of evolved into not necessarily a business development thing, but there were business development, aspects to it. And then, other things that came along over time that sort of morphed into this thing where as projects come up, or if there's things that I see that might be good for Litecoin, then I'll jump on those. Reaching out maybe to some entities to see if they'll accept Litecoin if they don't already, or if there's things that they want to try and do to enhance their Litecoin investor or supporters on their platform, stuff like that. Yeah.
That's so amazing. I love how you really just got in and started actually getting business experience, which is that something you've done before or have you done
I've done
anything related?
projects. No, I've managed projects and things in the military. I've managed teams of people. I've supervised plenty of young people, as they come through the military. So I had all of the things that you would need to do in order to jump into a project and make sure it's completed from beginning to end. So I just never had done it in a non-military capacity before, which was interesting. So I had taken groups of people, like I used to manage the honor guard over in Europe. And so we'd go to like Normandy or Italy or Belgium and do ceremonies and meet with dignitaries and do all that kind of stuff. And I had managed like conferences for, although I wasn't in the National Guard, like every state has someone within the National Guard. They have a general that basically heads their state National Guard. And so they would come over to Europe like once a year and have like a conference in Germany, and I would help set that up. So I had experience in those areas, and then managing things that were of confidential nature through the NATO secret and top secret clearances I had. So I could be trusted in that way too. And so it felt pretty natural to be able to come in to an entity like the foundation and gain people's trust and let them know that, if something was given to me, it was going to get done, or I'd bring in the right people to get it done if it wasn't me.
You're a hard worker, David. Loving it.
Thank you.
And where do you see Litecoin going in the future? And do you see a future summit coming up?
Yeah, I personally am not the head of putting the summits together anymore. I do help with them still. And so Alan Austin, who's a board director, has kind of taken the reins of being the spear, the tip of the spear on the summits, which is great. But I do sort of like co-help manage it. And I think we're looking at probably, start of next year, spring, somewhere in there. We were going to have one here like coming up very soon, but just based off of the different things that are going on in the world, we had to, postpone it for a while. But
hopefully we get a Litecoin summit soon. I would love to meet Charlie Lee. He's one of the people I'm dying to meet. He, along with so many others in the crypto space, I can't even, the list goes on and on. But Charlie Lee, man, I gotta meet that man. He's so
yeah,
cool.
he's a really, really nice man. He's very genuine. He's very quiet. When he tells you something, he's very thoughtful in what he says, right? And so it's very refreshing. He's not the guy who comes into the room and makes a lot of noise and bangs drums to make sure you know that he's there. He's really kind of like, he'd prefer to stand in the corner with his hands in his pockets and just sort of take in the environment versus being the environment. So I enjoy that type of person a lot. Probably because I'm kind of like that too. I'll sit in the corner somewhere and just sort of soak everything in. I don't have to be in the center of everything. So.
Aw, that's awesome. Charlie's so amazing. You're amazing. I love how he's so involved in the community and he knows what's going on. I met John Kim, if he's still in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Sir John Kim. I saw you. I met John Kim in Miami at Ken Bozak's event. Shitcoin 2021.
John Kim has like unlimited energy, man. That guy's like
does. It's contagious. I loved hanging out with him. I had a whole, lunch with the Litecoin fam, and we were missing you, David. Even though you were right down the block, we were missing you.
I couldn't even make it over there. I was so unhappy about that because I really wanted to come and see all of you guys over there. I told my partner Paul, I was like, we have to make it over there and see those guys. And then things just didn't work out. There was too much to set up and get ready. So
heartbreak for sure. Definitely bummed out that I didn't get to see your booth as well, but hopefully I get to see your booth in the future as well as Charlie Lee, you. I hope I meet everybody in the future. John Kim was such a great person to me. He had Charlie Lee trolling me actually, which is crazy. I think Charlie Lee followed me, then unfollowed me on Twitter.
Yeah.
I was devastated.
John actually was quite an influence on how some of the stuff morphed for me in that first year. So, him and I go back already to the start of 2018. I remember sitting on my bed and we were talking. He was telling me about his life and all the things he'd gone through. So,
He has a great backstory, Sir John Kim. Amazing stuff. And speaking of thoughts on things, what are your thoughts on the Litecoin fam?
I'm bullish. I'm very bullish. I've seen it change over the years. Like anything, people come in, people leave. Nothing's ever really the same, yet it is. And I'm happy and proud as to how many have stuck around and made an influence more than just talking. There's a lot of people that are doing the walk. And so that's very encouraging for me.
Yes, we have some Litecoin fam in the chat. We got Kat in here, J-Mac chilling out. Thank you guys for tuning in, by the way. Shout out to the chat. Make sure to like, subscribe if you're enjoying this video, share it out to your friends. But thank you everyone for tuning in. So I also want to transition into other business ventures that you're into. So you're starting a new business. You started a new business. It's happening and I'm wearing it. And you have Sir Little Hal in the back. So explain A-Hedge. What is going on? How's your new venture?
Yeah. So a hedge is a culmination of working through the project director position and just being in the space for a while. One of the things that I wanted to see happen was break down a barrier or two to bring in more adoption. And one of those that seemed like it was ripe for the picking at the time was, finding a way to get people to get paid or have their pay converted into cryptocurrency. And I mean, there's obviously other people who have that same intention, and then you have some early on who tried doing something along the lines of having people get paid in Bitcoin, and but I wanted to take that a step further. You realize that there are certain barriers that are just going to be really hard to get by, so maybe you just kind of skirt around them versus going over them, right? So the way that we have payroll converted is a skirt around the current system and using it sort of like in judo to help us come out on top, right? So you're not technically getting paid in Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum by your employer. What you're doing is you're getting paid by your employer in dollars like you would always. But what happens is when you receive those dollars, it's getting converted per your directions into the crypto that you want, and then it ends up in the wallets that you tell us you want them to go to. So if you have like a Celsius wallet or a cold storage wallet or whatever it is, basically what happens is you register at Hedge. You are given some direct deposit information, like a routing number and a bank account, and then you take that to your employer or whoever, and you tell them, look, we don't need to know the amount on Hedge either. It really doesn't matter. But all we know is whatever money comes into that account, it's going to be converted into the percentages that you told us for those crypto and then sent to the wallets that you told us. So we're basically doing all the heavy lifting for you. You don't have to go to an exchange. You don't have to like if you go into Coinbase or any of the other ones right now, you can set up recurring buys, but those are recurring buys into money that's already gone into your regular bank account. And there's a higher risk of fraudulence. People can, change that midstream, or break into Coinbase or whatever and change those directions. And next thing you know, your money's going to somebody else, right? So what happens here is we're taking it directly from your pay, which there's nobody else paying you except the person that's paying you. And it's going into an account that's set up for you when you register, that's not used for anything else. So you can't write checks, you can't use, anything else for it except receiving this pay, and then it gets converted. But the cool thing is it costs the employer nothing. You're only paying for some conversion fees and a network fee like you do anywhere else. And nobody has any different tax implications. So when the employer is paying you in dollars, they're still reporting everything the same. You're receiving it initially in dollars, so you report everything the same. And then it's just getting converted on the way. So it makes it easiest for everybody.
That's amazing. And it's a perfect way to dollar cost average.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great. It actually works out a lot better because you can set it and forget it, right? So like if you get a paycheck every 2 weeks or every week or every month, whenever it is, you've already set up to where X amount of dollars is going to go into this converter and sent to the wallet that you want ahead of time.
Perfect. I know that a lot of people want to be paid in Bitcoin. I see tweets all the time. I want to be paid in Bitcoin. I want to be paid in Litecoin. Well, you guys are actually, I think, the first to have this opportunity where you could get paid in Litecoin and Ethereum, something other than Bitcoin. Is this correct?
So there's one obscure company, I can't remember what it's called, but they do like the Ethereum thing, but we will be the first one that does it, I believe, in Litecoin. There are others that do it in Bitcoin, and they're pretty insistent that it only be Bitcoin. So that sort of gives us an opportunity to tap into markets other than just the Bitcoin market, and that's always a good thing.
It's good to diversify. On Hedge, Can you have the option of 1 week, let's say I want half my check in Bitcoin, and maybe the next week I want 75% of my check in Ethereum? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, so what you're doing is you're going to let your employer know how much money you want sent to this, right? So if you want to change that with your employer every week, you're more than welcome to. All we're doing is receiving whatever comes in there. Now, whatever comes in there, you can change how that's converted as often as you want. You can go in there every 30 seconds and change it if you want to. It doesn't matter. But what it is at the point when you get paid is what it'll be, right? So you can have like 33% of it be Bitcoin, 33% of it be Litecoin, 33% of it be Ethereum, and then have it sent to a different wallet for each of those. And then next time, maybe you want 50% Bitcoin and 50%, Litecoin. And then the week after, or the next paycheck, you want 75% Ethereum and 25%. It really doesn't matter. Yeah.
That's great. I love Litecoin. I love Litecoin and everything you guys are doing and how you're integrating it into payroll, which I think is so important. I know I would love to be paid in Litecoin some weeks, Ethereum another, just so I have a way of dollar cost averaging without paying more fees. And just going through the whole process of going to, an exchange such as, let's say, Coinbase, buying my Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, having it sit there, then having to pay a fee to buy it, then another fee to send it to my wallet. When if I just got paid in it, just be sent directly to my wallet and eliminates all the stress and hassle.
Yeah, and you don't have to manually go in and do everything that you just said either. It just does it automatically, so...
Such a relief. That this is technology. This is innovation. The innovation we need in the space. I love how this is all really coming together. And I know that you said you were gonna integrate different versions of the hedgehog. Do you mind? Narrating or telling the story behind your mascot and his name and everything with that?
Yeah. So we used to be actually called CP3, which was a crypto personal payment plan, right? And so it was okay, but it didn't really roll off the tongue, and it's hard to identify with that. It sounds kind of sterile. And so we were having a meeting one day, and I think one of the guys had talked about, maybe we should be changing the name because we had brought it up a couple of times, and then one of them said, "Hey, I remember one time talking to me, he was saying you wanted to call it maybe hedge one time because it's multifaceted, right? Hedge meaning you can hedge against the dollar."
Yep.
And so I was like, yeah, you know what? I do remember doing that. Or saying that, hedge was a good name. I also have a name for a wallet that I won't disclose, but I really like that name too. So maybe at some point we're integrating that. But I was like, yeah, I remember hedge. Zesty wallet. No.
I'm just joking.
And so I was like, you know what, let's go with that. Let's go with hedge. And then, so I let the rest of the team know, and Paul, my partner, had told his girlfriend about it. And I was like, maybe we need to find a mascot or something, not me or anybody else, that people can identify with the name hedge, right? Because people are infallible, and one minute people love you, the next minute they hate you, and it doesn't really matter if it's not you that they're focused on. So I wanted a mascot or something, and so Paul's girlfriend was like, "Well, why not go with a hedgehog? Because it's called hedge." And we were like, "Yeah, that sounds pretty good." So his reasoning behind it was, he looked into it and he goes, "The reason behind that also, not only because hedgehogs are cute, but because hedgehogs are very deliberate." And they have one thing they like to focus on and do that very well. And so that's sort of like our mantra for our business, is we want to try and focus on one thing first and get it done very well, right? And so the next part was creating the visual of how. And so Craig, the creative director, and I were working on different versions of what HAL would look like. And I told him the idea behind, we had to figure out a name too, right? So we started joking around. We were thinking of different names with an H, Horatio, or, all kinds of different stuff. And then my wife and I were driving to a Target down in Florida, and it hit me. I'm like, how about Hal the hedgehog? It's very cute. It's very short, but more significant than all of that was we could actually honor one of the first people who was involved in Bitcoin, and a big reason why we're all here, which was Hal Finney, who unfortunately he passed away quite a few years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, due to ALS. But he was the first one to receive a Bitcoin transaction directly from Satoshi Nakamoto. I don't know if you knew that, but he
It's a
was
pretty
also one of the,
interesting fact.
yeah. So Hal seemed like the perfect name and the perfect person to pay homage to. So we named the hedgehog Hal. But then when we were designing him, we thought, well, how can we wrap in all the different people that we'd like to involve in this? And so first, because it was Hal Finney, and he was a cypherpunk. I wanted to highlight that, and then also catch the demographic of the like 17 to 30-year-old demographic as well. And a lot of people are into cyberpunk stuff too. So punk seemed to be a theme that was going through there. And so we kind of cropped his hair up in the middle to make it look sort of punkish, but keep him cute at the same time. And then we wanted to use the black background with the teal, the bright green coloring, so that it looks like, more like the cyberpunk feel to it. And we gave him the goggles like a cyberpunk. So that's what those are that he's wearing. But then we also wanted to make sure we were, like I said, trying to keep him cute too, because to us, every single female that we showed Hal to, the first reaction was, "Aw," right?
Yeah.
So, and I remember that was your reaction too. And I was like, okay, I think we're onto something. We hit pretty much everybody because, dudes that are already in the space, they hear hedge, they think of hedging against the dollar. We got them. Then we're getting maybe some of the Bitcoin loyalists who find out, okay, Hal is actually paying homage to Hal Finney. That's cool. They have Bitcoin. I can try that, right? And then you have the younger generation with the cyberpunk, and then we're also trying to entice the females who we feel are being they're coming into the space, and to me they've always been here, but they don't get recognized necessarily as much as maybe the males do. But to be able to let females know, hey, this is something that you can use and still feel like, I'm a female. You don't have to feel like you have to sort of morph yourself in some way to fit into the space. You can be who you are and do this, your way too. So I think we kind of hit all those check marks with Hal the way he is. So that's kind of the story behind that.
That's amazing. I love Hal. I love how he looks, and
he's awesome.
It's catchy. It's eye-catching. You're gonna walk by it and you see the green. I love the little flyaways. I love it. Punky, amazing, and so neat too. So neat.
Yeah.
He's just.
And I showed Charlie, right, and he's round, right? So he can be used as like in profile pictures and all kinds of stuff. And I remember showing it to Charlie, and he was kind of like, "This is really good." And he was like, "Who did this?" And I was like, "Our team, we did this," and I've had other people ask me, who did you go through for the branding? And I'm like, we did it, right? So everybody on our team played a role and a part, including like my wife and my kids and everybody, like Paul's girlfriend and Craig's girlfriend. Everybody had some kind of a role in forming this branding for Hedge that we have. So I'm very happy and very proud of that it was a team effort. And it's been pretty cool up to this point. Now we just have to launch, and we have that coming up very soon. We have a private beta that should be out here in a week or two, and we'll do that for a little bit. And then once we go through that cycle, then we're going to release Hal out to the world and see how it goes.
Woohoo! So excited for Hal to see the world, and the world to see Hal, honestly, because we all need Hal, we all need Hedge. This is great. And instead of employers having to take on responsibility of using crypto, going through all of this, you guys solve so many issues, which is so great. And thank you for explaining Hedge. That was really great. Such a great explanation. I have so many things on my list that I want to talk to you about today, and it's just, the list is so long. Another thing I really wanted to mention, Hal Finney NFTs. Are we going to see Hal career NFTs? One question I think I saw in the chat before, let me double check. Yes. Ken Bozak asked if there are going to be Litecoin NFTs, maybe Hal NFTs, Hal career NFTs on Litecoin?
So I'd love to have some Hal NFTs, and I know that you and I have briefly talked about that.
Yeah.
And so maybe you and Ken would like to spearhead what that looks like. But yeah, I would love to have some Hal NFTs to put out there. And then NFTs on Litecoin would be pretty cool, right? So I would keep that in the back of your head. Nothing's ever impossible, right? So yeah, I would like to see NFTs on Litecoin.
Same as well. Litecoin is great, so fast. Transaction fees are so minuscule. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I know John Kim's Lambo, his transaction was I don't even know. I think it was 4 cents he said for a
Oh,
very
for the
large
total cost?
transaction.
Yeah.
Yes. Insane. So Litecoin has so much potential, and MWeb is coming out soon. I saw
Mhm.
David Burkett put some. David Burkett, I'm pronouncing that right,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
yes, David Burkett. I saw him put out a tweet, and I think it's coming soon, right?
Yeah, it's
Wimble Wimble.
I think we're literally like probably just a few months away. I think there were some things he was working on. This guy's a perfectionist and he understands that whatever is going to be put out on Litecoin, we don't rush things, right? And so we want to make sure they're done right the first time. And that's how he is. And so he's been very meticulous in how he's bringing this out. So, maybe it falls behind a month or so, but I would anticipate that we still see it before the end of the year, no problem. But yeah, he's been doing a great job. I'm so glad that he came on board to take on that responsibility.
I love that he cares so much. He's really diving deep and putting out some very useful technology that really could change the
Mhm.
game. So good stuff by David. I'm really excited to see how MWeb impacts Litecoin. Do you have any thoughts on that? How MWeb could impact
It's a
Litecoin?
positive. I think it's a positive impact. I don't think you're going to see mass adoption of it right away. There's some steps you have to go through as because it's an option. That allows people to decide whether or not they want to do it. You're not going to probably see exchanges adopt it simply because that would put them in a different set of eyes when the SEC or somebody else is looking at them. But it's because it's an option, it's not a problem, right? So
Exactly.
if you were to use it, it would be not in relation to anything having to do with exchanges. So it'd
That's
be
great.
like me to you, or something along those lines. But it'll take time for people to get used to how that functions because the steps you'll have to take will be deliberate. It's not like it's just going to automatically be incorporated in everybody's wallet and everybody's able to do it with every transaction. You're going to have to make the choice to use that option one time or not another time, or whatever.
Another
Yeah.
another interesting question, if I can. Sorry. How profitable is mining Litecoin for the average person comparative to Bitcoin mining? Or is this something you can comment on, Sir David?
I don't mind either at the moment. I do have a Bitcoin miner that should be coming to our place sometime, hopefully by the end of the year.
That's spicy.
I've been trying to get a Litecoin miner of my own, a new one. I am having zero luck because of the chips and other things that are going on throughout the world, the shortages. So I do feel like the ones that are on like eBay or wherever else are probably, there's too much of a premium on them right now
Yeah.
for me. So maybe I wait till the bear market to start exploring that. But I do know that it is profitable for people at this point. And to say one is more profitable than another, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe just based off of the economics of it, I believe Litecoin is still either equal to or just right behind probably Bitcoin.
Great. Thank you so much for answering that
Yeah.
question. Another thing I really want to touch on is Litecoin Gaming. Do you mind explaining to everybody in the audience, if they haven't heard already, what Litecoin Gaming is?
Yeah, so Litecoin Gaming is an organization that was propped up about 2 months ago, maybe a little bit over. And there's a guy in the Litecoin community. He's a fan of Litecoin. His name is King Axis on Twitter, and he and a few other guys that he knows that have been in the gaming space for a while. They came to me and asked if the foundation or whoever would be interested in helping to support them as they start this organization, Litecoin Gaming, because they wanted to take Litecoin and bring it into all the different realms where gaming is already existing, right? So like Twitch and tournaments and wherever else gaming is prominent. And not being of that world, I thought, well, if the foundation had tried to do this and we don't have the right people in place, it would probably just sputter and die. So to have people in that space come to us and say, we'll take care of all that part, we just need your support, that worked out perfectly. And so yeah, I started working with them as an advisor and in sort of like a project role, and sort of guided them through some of the landmines that are crypto and kind of getting them as a real organization. They've created it into an LLC now too, so that's pretty cool. And it's really taken off. I mean, they had over it's almost 11 million impressions on Game with Litecoin on TikTok alone, right? So if you look up the hashtag Game with Litecoin, that's how many impressions they've had on it. And so they do a good job of the social media exposure. And so all of the gamers and streamers that are involved have Litecoin in their profiles, and they show Litecoin while they're interacting with their stream viewers. And we're looking to do to get into tournaments. So we've had tournaments where people that are involved with the Litecoin Gaming organization have placed pretty high, like in StarCraft 2 on global tournaments. And we're looking to branch off into other areas as well. And of course, what organization doesn't have merch available, right? So we're doing Litecoin merchandise and stuff that'll be available here very, very soon. And it's just been really fun. And meeting some new people that I never would have met otherwise has been really great. And being able to mentor these guys in some of the business aspects and project areas that maybe they weren't necessarily too involved in before, but they really, really have taken it and run with it so far.
They've definitely taken initiative. Ever since Litecoin Gaming came out, all of a sudden I just saw a flood on Twitter. Yeah. Litecoin Gaming, oh my gosh. And I was like, what is going on? So I contacted you, I contacted everyone. I was like, what is going on? I want to know I thought there was a whole Litecoin game coming out, even though there are some Litecoin games, which yes. Lightbringer, right?
Lightbringer, yeah. That's built on the blockchain Litecoin. But these guys are more about exposure, bringing exposure into areas where maybe crypto or Litecoin hasn't had as much of a light on it. So it's been fun. Yeah.
For sure. I know that a lot of Gen Z lives on Twitch. We're all gamers. We're all into the interwebs. So Twitch is a great place for gamers to bring Litecoin, because if people are already tuning into them, they're familiar. And I think a lot of onboarding comes from things that are familiar, which you were talking about before, how you got into crypto, dividends, you were treating Bitcoin and Litecoin like a stock for a while until you really dived in and learned, which is really awesome. And I love that adoption is spreading in such different places, and Litecoin's really taking initiative in that action. I see a lot of new gamers joining Litecoin Gaming. I saw a 17-year-old was added today. Yeah. That's awesome. So Gen Z's popping in. We're making headway in the Litecoin Foundation and Litecoin Gaming, which is so great. Do you mind telling us a little bit about your gamers or, things they've done?
So, yeah, I mean, we've picked up people that are prominent in different areas, like some that are they have a big, a strong YouTube following, some that have a strong Twitch following, some that are, they have a stronger following maybe on socials like TikTok or Instagram or whatever. So we're really trying to tackle all the areas, and they're very diverse in where they live. We have people that are part of the team that live in Korea or in England or the United States. So geography doesn't matter. Age basically doesn't matter, right? And your gaming, what it is that you play might matter to some degree, but it's really not it's not going to cut you off or anything from being a part of it. The Discord is pretty active, and the DM chat that's in Twitter, those guys are constantly talking. It's not dead by any stretch of the imagination. And I've seen a few of them here in the last few days, especially even today, where they'd say I bought my first Litecoin a little while ago and I'm already up 30 or 40%, and so it's they're seeing what we've been preaching for a while, and now they get to be participating on both ends, from the gaming world and they're in the crypto world enjoying it too. So Yeah.
Yes, Litecoin's having great price action today. I'm looking currently, the live price is $211.09, up 12.4%, making headway in the market. So go Litecoin. We're making moves, which is great.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to ask, so is this a rumor or is this facts? One Litecoin gamer is actually getting paid in Litecoin.
A couple of them are. Yep. Yeah.
That's
So
so
the other
spicy.
thing, yeah, the other initiative when they created the organization was they wanted to make sure that they were showing that it actually is relevant within the organization other than just promoting it. So they've paid people who have done like creative work for us in Litecoin already. We have, I think, at least two gamers that have gotten paid. Their contracts are in Litecoin. So yeah, and we're going to continue doing that too.
Great. That's so amazing. Love Litecoin Gaming. And what do you see for the future of Litecoin Gaming?
I'd really like to see, and I know this is the vision of the guys that are running it too. I'd really like to see where you have like a global tournament or challenge where, you know, normally you see the teams and they have their jerseys and they're playing on the, you know, like you see Litecoin Gaming as one of those prominent gaming organizations where people are coming to us, and they are already. You'd be surprised the people that have been coming to us to try and be involved in some capacity with the Litecoin Gaming organization. It is just blowing my mind. Very happy about that. But for me, I think seeing it as its own self-sustaining organization where we're able to not just promote Litecoin through, you know, the TikTokers and the Twitchers and all these other things, but through legitimate tournaments where, you know, where it's being seen globally, watched globally, and you can see the Litecoin jersey from that team playing and know that you had something to do with that. That'd be pretty cool.
Loving it. I'm vibing with the idea of the jerseys. I think just wearing a shirt, just wearing a head shirt, or just wearing a Bitcoin shirt, it spreads adoption.
I will tell you that they're already designed. They just need to come out. Yeah. So it's going to be here very shortly where people will be able to purchase jerseys and other like hats and other stuff. So.
Ooh, I think I gotta get some Litecoin Gaming swag.
yeah. When you have them on, you'll have to. I'm sure they'll give you an opportunity to get some of that stuff. So
definitely need to. My goal now. I just manifested this. Let's manifest. I meet Charlie Lee and you. We're all in the same room, and we're all wearing our Litecoin Gaming swag, and we're taking selfies, manifesting it. It's done. It's gonna happen. Just waiting for it.
Charlie's a fan of it too. Yeah, he was going to play that game with us, the Circuit Superstars, where we had myself and Landon Castle and Ryan Shazier. He was a former NFLer. He was on there, and another former NASCAR driver, Parker Kligerman, was on there. And then Zesty from the gaming organization was on there, myself. And Charlie was going to play it, but he had a Mac, so he couldn't play the game. So he did some commentating for us. And but the next one, he's going to hopefully be a part of and actually play. And then some other people that I know want to be involved as well. So like Simon Yu from StormX, the CEO, he wants to get in on a game, and a few other people. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
For sure. And you're, like I said before, you're spreading adoption. Landon Castle, which something I totally blinked on. Hedge on his car, vroom vroom. We got Hal on there, right?
Yeah.
And Litecoin.
Yeah, we got the bumper. Yeah, we put Litecoin and Hedge on the bumper.
That's great.
We were part of that whole first sponsorship to be fully paid in crypto news that went out. And Voyager obviously has like 90% of the car, right? So they're the big news item, but we also, as the bumper, we paid for ours all in Litecoin. So we were a part of that, which is really cool. And I would not be sleeping on Landon. That guy has a lot of foresight and a lot of energy, and he's really sold on crypto. And so I would be keeping an eye on him for next year, because he has some big plans for crypto and bringing that to a bigger stage. So
I'm ready for his car to be NFT'd. Wink.
Landon. He loves NFTs too, by the way.
Sir Landon and I gotta talk then.
Yeah, you
Gotta
got to
meet
bring
Sir
him on.
Landon.
He loves
Also,
NFT.
also, shout out to Danielle Summer Rae,
Yeah.
another great member of Hedge from WWE. You know,
Yeah.
she's making headway in every which way. She's an amazing woman to follow. I think she's great. I actually met her in Miami. I think we sent you a selfie.
Yes. That
So
was very
funny.
nice. Thank you. Yeah.
Just ran into her randomly. I feel like it was all meant to happen. You know, we were talking about Hedge. It was so great. So if you could share, I want to try something new on the show. And
Sure.
David, I feel like you're the right guest to start this off with. Name
Okay.
something zesty about yourself that nobody knows.
Um, I wanted to be a sports writer. That's what I went to college for. I was gonna be. My goal was to be the sports writer for the Green Bay Packers or the Milwaukee Brewers. So
It's great. So, and you just went into the military. You went a whole different way, but honestly, that's a great
I'll tell
career
you the
as
story
well.
behind that. I don't tell
Yes.
anybody. I've told people offline. I haven't mentioned this online before, but I went to the University of Wisconsin La Crosse out of high school because it was 2 hours away from my parents. So it was just far enough where I had to stay there, and I didn't have to live at home, right? And La Crosse was a good school, and I had a good like radio and mass communications degree, so it fit into my narrative still. But I was not I was not maturity wise ready yet to do any of that, because now I was answering to myself and myself only. There were no crutches anymore. It was, I had to be held accountable for everything. And me personally at 18, I wasn't, I'm a dude, I wasn't ready yet. Right. So
No.
after about 3 semesters of minoring in drinking and partying, I decided that it was probably a better life choice for me to find a way to have kitty bumpers on my bowling alley. So I joined the military, and that's what got me into the military. But yeah, so that sports writing dream died off after 3 semesters. Yeah. And then I met my wife 5 days at my first duty station in Germany back in 1991, and got married and realized that sports writing wasn't as fun as being with her and making a family. So that became my main focus.
So sweet, David. Tears. You and your wife are goals. I see your selfies all the time. You're messing around, loving it. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing such a zesty story. I love that. I would love to see you write one day. Maybe, get more NFL players using your writing skills, write them a letter,
that's
and be
what I'm
like,
hoping.
hey, get involved with Hedge. Get paid in Litecoin. That would be
Paid in
zesty.
Litecoin. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can everybody find you?
So on Twitter, it's at DaddyCool1991. I am on LinkedIn as well. But, there's a lot of David Schwartzes in the world. It's a pretty common name. I'm surprised. But I think if you were to look up maybe gethedge.io on LinkedIn, you should be able to find me, or Litecoin Foundation. It'll be easier than just trying to type in my name. I mostly live on Twitter. I don't really do Instagram too much or anything at all, actually. And otherwise Telegram. So the same handle as Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think my internet is bugging out right now. So before we crash, I definitely want to say thank you for coming on the show. And I really had a blast today. I enjoyed this time with you. And I hope we get to meet each other in the future. I really love I really love what you guys do. I want to meet you in the future. IRL, I know we chat, but the real life, it's better.
Always better in real
life. The full zesty effect,
Yeah. I give your dad another hug. So.
My dad loves hugs. I love hugs. Let's all hug. Hug. Virtual
Your dad's
hugs.
Awesome. Virtual hug. There we go.
He is awesome. My dad's a G. I wouldn't be here without him. And I'm just so grateful that I was introduced to crypto by him. And again, you were one of the first people that I actually heard about. When I first got into space, we were talking about crypto friends, and you were one that was brought up because you're just such a great person. And
Thank you.
I really love talking to you, and you're such a kind person. And again, thank you for your service that you've done. And, you know, in the military and for Litecoin. And I wish you the best of luck. Hedge is going to be something that is going to break through the space, and I'm so excited to see the future. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell button for the future times we go live, and have a happy Friday, everyone. Stay zesty. Peace.
Peace. And chicken grease.
Good morning, crypto Twitter is missing crypto, spreading crypto with doctors showing its benefits to my generation. Shout out to all my people, Gen Z needs to be included. It's really that simple. We are savage, amazed, both zesty, making money at the same time, spread peace. I feel empty if you don't include Gen Z. About to change the world, so y'all better get ready. Missing crypto, I'm never backing down. I got a wax account, you should say it out. So many NFTs, I think I lost count.